So
Hold on.
Am I looking at you or the camera?
I the shooting that I do is like they talk to me, but I don't know what's
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
just look at her. She can stand here. You can get a little closer to the camera.
Yes.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to ask for your name and
Okay.
how is this development affecting you?
Gotcha. So I'm Curtis Eady. I'm here, fourth generation resident here in Baltimore, here in Poppleton neighborhood. And behind me we have the Center West development, which this development has been, it's like a good and bad thing here in the community. I say really good because we need development. This is one of the first red line neighborhoods, Baltimore City being one of the first red line cities in America. This neighborhood being west of downtown, despite it being a neighborhood of survivors, and we haven't really been thriving here. So I've seen the decline of the neighborhood. I've seen the families being pushed out. It went from a neighborhood that was lively throughout the summer, spring, winter, and fall, highly dense neighborhood. Now it's just low residents, high vacancies, and a lot of blight. And most of it is done because of the development that's here behind us.
Yes, talk a little bit about the development that we've got behind us. Just what it consists, the structure of the building, the price, what was before.
Okay. So here in Poppleton, Poppleton has always been a mixed neighborhood. You consider public housing, home ownership, renters, as well as business owners, because Baltimore is one of these walkable places, but you can go from your house to the corner store or the Highlands Market and back. So just to see the neighborhood, here was houses, it was apartments and houses and mixed use. On the other side of these properties, on the east side, is Amity Street, and one of the most historic homes in Poppleton, Edgar Allan Poe home, which he just celebrated the Edgar Allan Poe Festival for his birthday. And that Poe Homes is the oldest operating public housing unit here in Baltimore. So it's still low-income housing, but family still. On south of that was high-rises, we called them the projects, Lexington Terrace. So just kind of giving a historical landscape part of the last 20 years of what was there. Here where we are is a green space. This is Greater Model Park. The park has not been renovated. They have a baseball field, football, a pool on site, and a recreation center, in which no investment has come into the recreation center, the community, or the park. And the developer in 2004, they received ownership or rights to improve the land through a LDDA, Land Disposition Development Agreement, with the city of Baltimore. So they received the TIF, which is state funding, tax dollars to come in and supplement development here. The TIF bond allowed them to get, I think it's about 323 acres of land. And this, to my knowledge, is said to be their first development with La Cité, especially here in Baltimore. It's a New York developer. They came down and the city gave them what some would consider to be desolate land. Well, Poppleton, again, mixed use. They had homeowners, you had residents. We're right here with the school. So just to see what they took away from it, just to provide space for this development.
So how would you describe this building that people call development?
Gotcha. So here now, it's a square structure, box structure. You see these big gray blocks. Unlike any of the rest of Baltimore's character, especially here in the neighborhood, it's a red brick. It's just a brick facade community. Row houses. If you see on the left side, row houses these row houses just was built in 1960. So recently they started building more home ownership, and then 30, 40 years later they stopped home ownership, and looks like now only apartment rental lease. That doesn't fit the culture of the community. Many people don't like it. I know I didn't like it. Just to see this big box structure, it blocked the views of the residents. We would be able to see like the fireworks, 4th of July, even on New Year's, being able to watch it from your rooftops, being this close to downtown. No longer can you see that. So, in the mornings, the sun's blocked, so we are at the plants at the front. Some of the neighbors have just been complaining about what this big structure, how it changes the dynamics of the community now.
And do you think that these buildings, these houses are affordable for the people who are living in Baltimore and whose houses has been like?
Yeah. So affordability is everything, right? Especially in these neighborhoods. I would say it's definitely out of the price range. They go by something called market price, which does not look at the residents of Baltimore City, but Baltimore metropolitan area. And Maryland has one of the most richest states in the nation. So some of those metropolitan counties, they've raised the income level. So the studio apartments was going at 1,600. So starting out between 16 and 3,300. That's not market rate. That's not really affordable for folks here in the area. If you look at a mortgage, you can get that $1,400 all included with the house. So if you can get a mortgage at the rate they're willing to pay for a studio apartment, and then a 3-bedroom apartment going up to $3,000. So
And yes, the last question about this building, or if you got any question, you can always answer that question, is that you told me in the tour that here, pretty close, there was like a bar that your family has go for generations.
Yeah.
What has happened with this building? Like, would you like explain me? Like here, there was like
Gotcha.
a bar. And
So
now-
Samson's is a spot that was here at 101 West Fayette Street. And so my grandmother would talk about these biscuits. It was the only actual place black people could come. So James Brown performed there. Many of like High Tops, Temptations that come through. When they would come through in the 60s and 70s, they would have a place to go. So this has been like a historic spot. And they tore it down because of the eminent domain law with urban renewal. So when the urban renewal plan was drawn up, which is a document to say they want to change the space out, gentrification, it kind of states out the guidelines of what they can do, where they can do it. But we lost that bar, from saying even the barbershop, Lenny's Barbershop, which Oprah Winfrey's father, he would get his hair cut there. They got pictures of Oprah Winfrey when she was young and many other just people to know. Baltimore has a couple famous people who's been through the area. So just to see the people, their history, living in the area, going to these places, and then they have to been torn down for development's sake. So it's like eminent domain says the private take of public property for the good of public use. Personal take of private property for the good of public use. Now this is private take for private use and private Capitol building. This is not he hasn't made any improvements to the park spaces, haven't made any improvements to the blight, haven't even cut down the trees or the bushes where they mowed down houses to make room for development, and haven't done any development for the past 17 years. Yeah.
Anything more to say?
Yeah, I got a couple more. Just really looking at, recently I've been seeing how the city has been praising the developer. He's been news in the newspaper, he's been on WBAL News, just all these different places about what he's doing. And his argument, he says that he's saving the community, and he's the reason why crime has gone down, and he's the reason why opportunity is starting to grow. But again, just showing people how home ownership was here. We had active schools. This lot was being used full time for sports engagement. We had a farm that was ran by residents, a pop farm that has been pushed out, and now they don't have a home because of this development. And now that whole farm has been overgrown for the past year and a half. So all the things that lighting for safety and protection, he said he's brought. We don't have any lighting on this side of the street, but you have lighting right here at his building. So yes, he has made it safer for his residents on his campus, but it doesn't help the community that he's coming into. So I like just kind of having people recognize and understand development is more to development than just making money, than trying to just refreshen or redo something that you consider to be old. So just understanding that with that importance of development, you got people, so how do you deal with the people? What are the people who are currently there going through? And how is this development impacting them, the process from beginning to end? I think that the mayor's office, as well as the city of Baltimore residents, I thank all those who have helped us out and who came to champion for us in saving these properties and preserving these historic places. You'll see as we go around. But this development has been a blight in itself. It has really caused more damage than what he sees as help.
Perfect. Yes, because I've got an interview with the developer that says yes, the opposite.
Yeah.